Chosen one, stop scrolling. There's something you need to hear right now, or you won't make it through what's coming next. You've been feeling off lately, tired in a way that sleep can't fix, a weight pressing down on your chest. You chalked it up to stress, maybe burnout. But what if that's not it? What if you didn't just have a rough week? What if the truth is this? You just survived a war, a real one. Not with fists or firepower, but with forces you couldn't see. In a battle you didn't even know was happening. While you were getting out of bed, driving through traffic, holding it together in meetings, smiling through pain. Not snapping when you could have. Not giving up when no one would have blamed you. That wasn't a weakness. That was war. And the fact that you're still standing right now is not normal. It's not small. It's not luck. It's a sign. Because someone, somewhere, wanted to take you out, and they failed. So before we go any further, I need you to understand one thing. You're not tired because you're weak. You're tired because you fought back and won. Somewhere in a dimension you can't see, alarms went off. Red lights, sirens, urgent voices, a war room thrown into chaos. This wasn't a drill. Commanders of darkness, ancient, intelligent, terrifying, gathered for an emergency meeting. Not because of a global disaster, not because a prophet rose up, but because one person had done the impossible. Someone without armor, without weapons, without even knowing, had just wiped out 1,000 of their agents. Simultaneously. That wasn't supposed to be possible. Not by a human, not without help, not in one day. But it happened. They pulled the records, ran the numbers, replayed the moments. They couldn't explain it. There were no signs of intervention, no miracles, no rituals, only resilience and only survival. And here's the part no one told you. That person was you. While you thought you were just having a bad day, hell was losing its grip. While you were driving home, exhausted, they were analyzing how you were still alive. While you cried in silence, they were screaming in confusion. Because they threw everything at you mentally, emotionally, spiritually. 1,000 coordinated strikes, an overwhelming, invisible flood of fear, doubt, conflict, shame, and exhaustion. But you didn't break. You didn't explode. You didn't disappear. You kept going, and that shook them. Because when darkness realizes its weapons don't work on you, that's when it gets scary. This wasn't random. It was a test, a trap, a calculated strike meant to take you out. But instead of falling, you stood, shaken, yes, tired, absolutely, but still standing. And in that moment, something shifted in the spirit realm. You weren't marked as a target anymore. You were marked as a threat. You woke up, you went to work. You handled your responsibilities. You talked to people, smiled when it hurt, kept moving when no one was cheering you on. And you told yourself, I'm just trying to get through the day. You thought that was normal. You thought that was a weakness, but it wasn't. What you called surviving heaven calls chosen. See, the chosen one isn't always the loudest voice in the room. It's not the person with the spotlight or the title. The chosen one doesn't glow, float, or speak in thunder. Sometimes, they just quietly refuse to quit. That's you. You're not here because you've never struggled. You're here because you never stayed down. When life came at you from all sides, you didn't break. You bent, you bled, but you didn't vanish. You assumed you were average. But look closer. How many people around you gave up? How many tapped out when the pressure got too heavy? How many let bitterness win, or fear speak louder than truth? But you're still showing up, still holding the line, still loving when it would be easier to shut down, still choosing what's right when wrong would be more convenient. And the most powerful part, you didn't even know you were in a war. You walked through fire, unaware of the flames. You held back darkness, thinking it was just a bad mood. You blocked arrows with your chest, not realizing they were meant to destroy you. You thought you were crawling, but you were carrying an army's weight on your back. Like a soldier waking up after a night of bombs falling, looking around and saying, "Wait, I'm still alive." Yes, you are. And that's not by accident. It's by design. Because the chosen one isn't chosen for their comfort. They're chosen for their endurance. Not for perfect strength, but for relentless spirit. You weren't picked because you're flawless. You were picked because you don't quit. And right now, as you listen, heaven knows exactly who you are. So let me say it plainly. You're not here by coincidence. You're not watching this by mistake. You are the one hell couldn't break. You are the one darkness couldn't stop. You are the chosen one. When darkness replayed what happened, they didn't get angry. They got scared. They watched the footage over and over, trying to understand how it all went so wrong. Every plan, every trap, every coordinated attack failed. You weren't supposed to make it through. They started small, whispered doubt, planted questions like, what if you're not enough? Why hasn't anything changed? Does anyone even care? Then they tightened the pressure. Your boss snapped at you. Traffic made you late. Your phone stayed silent when you needed someone most. Every little inconvenience stacked on top of emotional exhaustion till it felt like the world was pressing down on your chest. You felt alone, but you weren't. You were being tested. They wanted to isolate you, make you think no one saw you, convince you to disconnect from people, from purpose, from hope. But you didn't take the bait. You held your ground. You kept showing up. I kept answering calls, kept smiling when it would have been easier to shut down. That's what terrified them. They used everything: fatigue, confusion, offense, temptation, and still, you didn't collapse. They said, maybe they've got outside help. They checked. Nothing. No rituals. No special prayers. No signs of angelic intervention. So how did you survive the storm with no shield? Because what you have isn't external. Your strength wasn't given last minute. It was built in. You don't need amulets or mantras. You carry something scarier than that unbreakable resolve. You don't explode. You don't sink. You keep walking. And to an enemy used to panic, to collapse, to quick surrender, on a mum, your quiet persistence is terrifying. They wanted you broken, but you stayed whole. They hoped you'd disappear. But you're still here. So yes, they're afraid now. Because they saw what you're made of. And they realized something they never expected. You're not just hard to stop. You're impossible to break. You didn't snap. You didn't give up. You didn't betray yourself. That alone is victory. See? Spiritual warfare doesn't always look like a dramatic exorcism or some obvious attack. Most of the time, it's subtle. It looks like a regular Tuesday. But underneath the surface, a battle is happening. The enemy doesn't come charging through the front door, he whispers through the cracks. He plants thoughts, not bombs. Suggestions, not screams. What if they don't care about you? What if you're always going to be stuck? What if you're the problem? He triggers your imagination, turning small concerns into worst-case scenarios. A text left unread becomes proof of rejection. A closed door becomes a sign you failed. A slow season becomes a sentence that says, "You're going nowhere." He makes silence feel like abandonment. He turns waiting into anxiety. He offers you shortcuts options that look good on the surface, but would pull you away from who you're really meant to be. But you didn't take the bait. You didn't spiral. You didn't explode. You didn't isolate yourself. You stayed grounded. You responded with wisdom. You paused when you could have reacted. You chose patience over panic, perspective over paranoia, and that is spiritual war. That is resistance. You didn't need to shout scriptures or wear armor, because the battle isn't always physical. As Scripture says, "For though we walk in the flesh, we do not wage war according to the flesh. The weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to demolish strongholds." 2 Corinthians 10:3-5. Your weapon isn't what's in your hand, it's what's in your mind, your will, your character. Your strength is in your no, your boundaries, your stillness when chaos invites you to panic. You don't need armor when your nature has become the weapon. The enemy doesn't know what to do with someone who won't be baited, won't be provoked, won't abandon themselves just to feel momentary relief. You don't need attention. You don't need applause. You don't even need to be seen. Because the battle you fight in silence, and still, you win. So if you're wondering whether your ordinary days matter, they do. If you're questioning whether staying kind, steady, and faithful means anything, it does. It means everything. Because every time you refuse to break, you're reminding the enemy, you already lost. I'm still here. You don't need a miracle. You are living proof that one already happened. Before the stress, before the heartbreak, before the losses, the trauma, the fight, you were already chosen. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1:5. You weren't an accident. You weren't a backup plan. You were designed on purpose. For a purpose. Everything about you was intentional. Your strength, your sensitivity, even your scars allowed, not to break you, but to shape you. You've felt the heat. You've walked through seasons that nearly melted you. But you weren't being destroyed. You were being forged. like a sword placed in fire again and again, not to weaken it, but to make it unbreakable. That's you. You wonder why you feel things so deeply. Why was the pressure relentless? Why do you never quite fit in with the crowd? Because you weren't made to blend in. You were made to withstand what most people can't. You didn't just stumble into strength, you were built for it. Every hard season didn't just happen to you. It was forging something in you. When others ran, you stood. When others collapsed, you breathed through it. You've been refined, not reduced. That's why what broke others only sharpened you. You're not here by luck. You're not still standing because you figured it all out. You're here because you were crafted for endurance. You carry weight others can't see. You walk through things most people don't notice, and somehow, you keep showing up not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. You were set apart for this. Not to impress anyone. Not to chase validation. But because your very existence pushes back darkness. Every time you rise again, you prove what heaven already knew. You're not breakable. You're built. So don't minimize your resilience. Don't apologize for your strength. Don't second-guess what's already been decided. You are not the result of what you've survived. You are the reason you survived it. And you didn't become this overnight. You were formed for it before day one. Paul survived swords and storms. You've survived battles no one could see. He was shipwrecked, imprisoned, beaten, left for dead. 5 times. He took 39 lashes. 3 times. He was beaten with rods. Once, he was stoned. He went hungry, cold, sleepless, constantly pursued. 2 Corinthians 11:23-28. And yet, he endured. People read about Paul and say, he was built differently. But look at you. You've been attacked in ways the world doesn't recognize. No bruises, no chains, but the weight you carry is just as real. Your mind has been hit with fear. Your heart has been pierced by betrayal. Your soul has been stretched by loneliness, anxiety, and unrelenting pressure. Paul faced swords. You faced silence. He was thrown in prison. You've been trapped inside your own thoughts. He fought through storms. You've weathered years of unanswered prayers. But here's the truth. You both got back up. You both kept going. Don't minimize your battles just because they were invisible. Don't think your endurance counts for less just because no one else clapped for it. Heaven sees both. You haven't failed. You've stood, like Paul stood, and you're still standing. That's not a weakness. That's faith. Tired doesn't mean weak. It means you endured and didn't break. You've been holding so much for so long, and maybe no one really sees it. But heaven does. And your tiredness, it's not a failure. It's evidence. Evidence that you didn't quit. That you kept walking through fire. That you fought battles in silence and still came out standing. Think of a soldier after war, not smiling, not celebrating, just breathing. Still alive, covered in scars, carrying pain, but home. That's you. This weariness in your body, in your soul, it's not weakness. It's the weight of victory. You didn't get here by coasting. You got here by surviving what was meant to stop you. You stayed steady through the emotional hits. You held your ground through mental chaos. You chose integrity when compromise was easier. You showed up when disappearing would have been safer. And now, your soul is tired not because you've lost, but because you've won more battles than you know. So pause. Breathe. And thank God not just for getting through it, but for becoming someone who can. The tired ones aren't the weak ones. They're the ones who've walked through hell and made it home. Now that you know the truth, what will you do with it? You didn't survive just to sit in silence. You were strengthened so you could strengthen others. Jesus said to Peter, "When you have turned back, strengthen your brothers." Luke 22:32. You've been through the fire, not just for you, but for those who will come after you. There are people around you right now fighting silent battles you've already faced. They don't need someone perfect. They need someone real. Someone who gets it. Someone like you. You've been refined, not just to endure, but to lead, to speak life, to remind others they're not alone, and they're not done. You're not just a survivor. You're a guide now. You're a voice in the dark. You're a lighthouse for the storm-worn. So rise, not just to stand, but to lead. You don't need to become stronger. You're already strong enough to make hell back off. Let that sink in. Your essence, who you are at the core, is a fortress. The enemy tried to break in and couldn't. Because some places aren't meant to be penetrated. Your heart guarded, your soul claimed, your spirit untouchable. Your commitment is your weapon. Not loud, not flashy, but sharp, steady, unshakable like a sword forged in silence. And your victory. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need a crowd. You've won battles no one saw, in rooms no one entered, in moments only God witnessed. So stop apologizing for being tired. Stop thinking survival isn't enough. You didn't just make it. You mastered it. You are proof that resilience is real. That quiet strength is terrifying to darkness. That some people don't fall, they rise. You've survived. Now live like it. Live with purpose. Live like someone hell couldn't destroy. Because you didn't just survive the war, you won it.